Hello, folks, and welcome to the July session of the Flatcar office hours. In the office hours, we discuss news and happenings in and around Flatcar and provide space for the community to reach out and discuss. Maintainers are here, but this is not work planning or anything like that. This happens in the DevSync in 2 weeks from now. All right. We are a CNCF project, and as such, we adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which basically means be nice to each other. If you want to speak and someone just doesn't end speaking, then please raise your hand. You'll get the mic, and we'll be able to make your statement. All right, I'll share the agenda for today. And the very first item is brief intro and check-in of new participants joining the call. Martin, I believe you're new, so if you'd like to introduce yourself, please feel free to do so.
Yes, I can introduce myself. So I'm using Flatcar Linux for the last couple of years, so mainly on bare metal, so mainly as a kind of a platform for containerized workload, mainly in the area of service providers. So we're using them to host routing agents or routing daemons, most often proprietary routing daemons, and to place them into the provider core network.
Awesome.
So I'm based in Berlin, and yeah, that's, I think, anything all about me.
Awesome. Thanks, Martin. Fellow Berlin folk there. I'm based in Berlin as well. Nice to meet you. All right. Okay, let's do our usual round of announcements. The first one is cgroups v1 support ended in Q2. So the current stable does not support cgroups v2 anymore. If you're still using this, does not support cgroups v1 anymore, it solely supports cgroups v2. If you're still using the cgroups v1 backwards compatibility node, your node will refuse to take this upgrade. It'll just fail this upgrade. This is planned, so your node doesn't get converted before you had a chance to interact. And in fact, we see a number of nodes rejecting the update and our update server. That's fine, that is expected. Please migrate to cgroups v2. If you need more time to migrate, you can alternatively switch to the LTS 2024 channel. That one will have backwards compatibility until late 2025. So if you need more time, that's the way to go. Of course, switching to cgroups v2 and sticking with stable is preferred. Then there are Nebraska breaking changes coming. The OIDC authorization flow is reworked, refactored, and much simplified. Irvin is usually our Nebraska knowledgeable maintainer. He's not here today. If you have any questions regarding that, please open an issue in the Flatcar project or ping us on the Matrix channel. We are here to help. Okay, let's go through the agenda items. Who wants to take the first maintenance mode day review? Because I don't want to talk all the time. Matthew, you're interested?
I will talk during the Incus demo, so maybe someone else from the team wants to present this. Other than that, I can just go ahead. So yeah, 2 weeks ago we got the maintenance mode. Basically, it's to go through the open issues on the Flatcar repository and try to see if they're still accurate, if they're still up to date, if we miss some information to close them or to work on them. Yeah, it's basically do some cleanups. It's also the occasion to work on the documentation if some documentation are missing. Well, yeah, it's a cleanup task, so it's really enjoyable because you go through old issues and stuff like that. Actually, Chewy closed the second oldest issue of the project, so always better late than never, as he said. But yeah, that's an interesting event, and we closed around 15 or 16 issue this time. So, and we have some progress on other issues. So yeah, that's it for the event, I guess.
Awesome. What I really like is that I see at least 3 contributors joining the call and basically working on issues. That's amazing. So if you want to just hack with us and basically interact with us on a call for like 8 hours, because we have a Jitsi call open all the time, the whole maintainer mode day. The next chance for that is the last Friday in July. And so Cyan prepared that a little. There are some ideas here. There's a number of documentation things. I don't even know whether we have tracking issues for those yet, which are simply outdated. And I think Cyan pretty much brainstormed on the idea of overhauling that. So I'd be interested to put a little energy into that. For instance, remove references to Torx from the documentation, because Torx hasn't been around for 2 years. And I don't think people are still migrating from CoreOS, so that might be able to go. And all of these cleanup things. So I'll probably pick a few of these myself. If you want to join in, either working on docs or on anything, basically, it's Friday the 25th, all day, mostly in the European time zone. So we start in the morning and have the call open until the late afternoon. Join us and update your calendars. All right, and we're with the first demo of today, and that is the Incus SysExt. Mathieu.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, let me share my screen. So you should now see the Flatcar documentation. If not, please tell me.
No, looks good.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, Incus support is around since alpha and beta. Currently, it's not yet unstable. So yeah, it's better to test Incus now on beta if you want to provide some feedback before it reach stable. So what is Incus? Well, it's a container runtime. It's also you can run VM, but that's not the purpose of Incus running on Flatcar, not yet actually. But yeah, I will just go through a quick demo to show you how to deploy things with Incus, how to use it. Yeah, as mentioned in the documentation, the goal here is not to rewrite the documentation of Incus, it's just to give you the key elements to get started with this container runtime. So you should now see the configuration, butane configuration. If no, let me know. But this is really the most simple configuration you can use to deploy the Incus sysext image on Flatcar. So as usual, like Python or Podman, you just need to write Incus into enabled sysext.conf. And once it's done, you can generate your ignition configuration and start Flatcar with this configuration. So during the boot of the instance, it's going to fetch the Incus sysext image provided by the release team, and it will download it and mount it on /user like any other sysext image. Like so, when your system is fully boot, you will get the Incus service, systemd service, and CLI run in the user space, and you can start playing with this container runtime. So it takes a few seconds to download, but once it's done, everything is available. So let's check if sysext is around. So we can see that I have the containerd, Docker, and Flatcar Incus. So good. And let's see if it's being mounted. So yeah, it's mounted. Now I should get the Incus CLI and everything around. We can see that the version is working. And yeah, for example, if I want to start an instance, I first need to run the incus admin init command. So basically, you just say yes to everything if you don't need default, if you don't need a custom configuration, and it will initialize for you incus runtime. Once it's done, you can, yeah, just start your first image. So let's run a Ubuntu container. let's call it 01. So it's downloading the image like Podman or Docker would do. What happened? I don't know. And we can see that we can't launch the Ubuntu image because we need to get the UID, sub-UID, and sub-GID configured. So it's similar to Podman, actually. What we've done in the past, in the previous release, is that we were shipping the sub-UID and sub-GID directly from the CSX image, but it was creating more issue that it was solving. So we decided to remove this from the CSX image. So now it's up to the user to provide those sub-UID and sub-GID. So let's shut down this and let's have a look to a new configuration, a more complex one. So now we are generating the sub-UID sub-GID for the root user because it's required by Incus to be able to run unprivileged containers. I'm going to download the CSX image of Incus as we've just did, and the ZFS one as well. Why? Because we are going to configure Incus using this pre-seed configuration. So you remember when I booted the instance previously, I said yes, 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 yes to everything. Well, basically this case can be done through ignition provisioning, like so you don't need manual intervention to configure Incus. And in this configuration, I will say to Incus to use the ZFS pool being created using the ZFS driver. So all the VMs, not the VMs, the container images and the container storage will use ZFS driver to store things. Then I'm asking to remove Docker and Containerd because I don't need those runtimes. Now I use my Incus runtimes. I don't need additional container runtimes. So yeah, let's remove it. And we have this small Incus admin init service that will run the Incus admin init command that I run manually just before. So generate the initial configuration, running the Flatcar image, and we wait a bit. So the sub-UID, sub-GID, it's the recommended way to run Incus based on the documentation. They do not recommend to run privileged containers, so they are encouraged to generate the sub-UID, sub-GID. But as said, it creates some issues because, for example, Ignition itself will generate those IDs if you create a new user. So if you create a new user and you inject those sub-UID, sub-GID, it can create some issues because the file will be not correctly formatted and everything will break. So yeah, it's better to give back the control on this for the end user. Okay, so the instance is booted now, and I can have a look to Incus storage list, for example. So we can see that I'm now using ZFS. If I'm checking the ZFS pull list, I can see that there is 5 gig of allocated of free space for this pool. So yeah, let's try to run again the Incus command to run an image. So it's I think it's that one. So it's downloading. And we have the image, the container running now. So that's cool. If I check the pool, I can see that I have less space available. So it means that we are correctly using this driver for the storage. And yeah, let's go inside the container And yeah, I'm inside Ubuntu container, so that's pretty cool. I can even ping some stuff. So yeah, that's it, I guess. That was just a quick demo of how to run things on Flatcar using Incus, and yeah, fully automated with initial provisioning through Ignition. So if you have any questions, feel free to read the documentation and ask on the Flatcar issue tracker. Thanks.
Awesome. That was great. And I forgot to unshare the agenda. So people now have seen the agenda next to the demo with this such as live. All right. The next item on the agenda is the new command demo in the SysX bakery. I'm going to share my screen on the Linux system for that. Here we go. Hopefully that's the right one. All right. So this is just a clone, the Git clone of the bakery repository right now. And as you know, you can like create SysX here directly from there. And I'm gonna do that for just for the purpose of having a SysX locally. In order to do that, I will need the latest version, or I will need any version of the SysX that I want to create. So for Nomad, I'm gonna just do latest, and then it builds the SysX locally, and now we have a Nomad SysX tier. Now, previously, it was kind of hard to introspect this system extension that you've built and to figure out if it works correctly. There was a bit of manual testing involved. You just mount it and check the files and hope everything works out. Now, there's a new bakery command that makes this a lot easier for you, and it's called boot. So we can basically take the SysX, provision it to a local Flatcar VM, and then see if it works, like check around. The boot command is pretty thorough. It will check the local directory if we even have a Flatcar operating system image. If we don't, it just downloads one. The Flatcar image is about 500 megabytes, so this takes a few seconds. We're halfway through it. And after download, it will copy it into a temp directory. It'll copy the SysX there as well, and then boot Flatcar and provision the SysX using a local web server. And that's happening now. We are booting the latest Flatcar release, and the SysX is being provisioned, and it is now merged. So I can, after the boot has finished, check the Nomad version, and there it is. So Nomad is merged, and Nomad is available on the SysX. And it's a pretty simple command, but it makes testing your system extensions a lot easier. And it's even pretty flexible. So if you check where I am here, this is basically my local clone of the SysX bakery. I can call this bakery sh boot from basically anywhere in my file system. So for instance, here I have, this is my kind of, I'm playing around with Flatcar operating system images directory. And if you build a Flatcar OS image locally using the SDK, it'll put the operating system image here. And you can see it's here. I built the QEMU UEFI image. And that is exactly the kind of image the bakery script would use, right, in order to test stuff. Now, what we can do here, and that's interesting for maintainers mostly. So I can call boot, and boot will use the local image being built in that directory. And I can, for instance, boot with the system-dependent Flatcar Incus image merged. And then That's basically what will happen. So if you're working on the operating system image or operating system dependent sysex, you could basically use a checked out source tree of the bakery for local testing, and it will actually work. And so in this case, it will come up with, and we just seen this, right? With the latest sysex merged, and I could actually go ahead and use it from here. This is just the basic provisioning, so everything that Matthew just demonstrated with customized configuration, I would need to do here, basically interactively, but I have a solid base and a pretty comfortable command at my disposal to just test stuff. All right, that was it.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
What is the channel used for the Flatcar version in the CLI by default?
As stable. By
What,
default, it's stable. And
what,
I think it is even hardwired. So let me actually check.
so since this is non-critical, what about using the beta channel? Like, so we have more beta users by default.
It's not a bad idea to default on beta. We should actually take a channel argument. I don't currently have that. But it's really easy to add. So if you like to take this up, absolutely. I think it's 1 or 2 hours of your work, and then you'll have it done.
Mm-hmm.
So default to beta and provide a channel argument so that you can actually pick what channel to use. By the way, there's a butane argument where you can pass custom butane YAML files, and you could use that for your more advanced Nomad configuration, more advanced Incus configuration as well.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Do we have more questions for any of the demos? And I share my screen again, and we'll continue in the agenda. All right. These were the 2 demos. Oh yeah, there's news from the Cluster API Node bootstrapping working group, which we spearhead. That the Flatcar maintainers are basically interacting with the core Cluster API maintainers there. We have regular meetings twice a month. There's an agenda here, and there's some news to share. Because we did a chunk of work there recently. Core Cluster API updated their APIs to V1 Beta 2. That's like a new release, and that introduced a lot of changes. And we actually managed to rebase all of our work on the latest Core Cluster API. So if people want to join that project and help us with node bootstrap provider separation, then they basically are on latest and greatest. So if you check out the agenda, then you get the link to the working group agenda, and you basically have all of the dial-in information there, and also when the next meeting is, and so on. So all that information's there. Okay. New release this week. Matthew, do you want to take that again? I just don't want to talk all by myself.
Cyan or Dongsuan not away?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't make it. He just.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this week we did a release yesterday actually, and this mainly shipped the fixes for sudo on LTS, alpha, beta, and stable. So if you don't have automatic upgrade, please update to the latest on your channel. And yes, that's it about the release. Some fixes and some updates, but mainly it was for sudo patch release.
Awesome. I do have a secure boot progress update here. I'm not sure how up to date Chewy is because I don't see Daniel on the call. I think that was Daniel's item, but since he didn't join, I'm not sure if you really have an update to share.
I haven't spoken to him in the last few days.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fine. I mean, there's always room for that in the DevSync. And that brings us to open mic time. Anything you folks want to bring up and discuss?
I have a quick question to Secure Boot. We are quite interested in that, and I was wondering how the key change in the UEFI environment is handled, because next year all the Microsoft keys will expire, and we need to update them. And the firmware update daemon, as far as I know, is not part of the Flatcar distribution, because as far as I see it, it's more geared to virtual machines and not to bare metal machines. And how is that planned to be done, or is that still not be planned? Should that be planned? Should that be part of the roadmap? So I'm not sure. I couldn't find anything about that.
I'm not sure if anyone has picked that up. I think we're yet to get our first properly signed shim from Microsoft anyway, for boring legal reasons.
No, it's actually before the shim, so it's not about the shim signing, it's not about any kind of grub signing. So the root of trust is part of what we called previously the BIOS, is nowadays the UEFI, so the Unified Execution Environment Infrastructure, however it's called. And in that environment, there are a couple of keys. So as far as I know, there are 3 keys. So a key for exchanging new keys, the Microsoft signing key, and a Microsoft third-party signing key. So they are part of your firmware in your mainboard.
Yep.
And those
Sorry, yes, I get what you mean now.
Exactly. And those do expire somewhere next year during summer. So and on Windows, they are actually replaced by the Windows operating system. So the Windows operating system is then interacting with the UEFI and replacing replacing the keys. And on Linux is done, or as far as I understood, it would be done by the firmware updater, the FWUP daemon. But as far as I see, that daemon is not part of the Flatcar distribution. So how should I update my bare metal server? So that is actually my question behind that.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I had pointed that out a little while ago. I think it was sort of in the back of my mind that we probably should add that at some point. But as you say, we're mainly geared towards virtual. I guess you can still do BIOS updates in the traditional fashion, but if you're having to do it at scale, then I appreciate that's maybe not ideal.
Yes, I actually don't want to do it by hand, to be quite honest. So therefore, I wanted to start early enough in the process to create a plan how the update can work, should work before next year. So it's nothing urgent at the moment, but I wanted to see how I can cope with that situation.
Okay, yeah, no, we'll look into it.
That is a great call out, actually. So for bare metal support, we may consider either a custom OEM that includes that, or even a system-dependent SysEx that people can use to generally get firmware update support. That makes a lot of sense. That's good input, and it's just at the right point in time, so it's way not too late. Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. So, I mean, I'm happy to work on that as well and test that as well. So, but I didn't know how to approach that from the beginning. So what's the best way is to phase into Flatcar. So what kind of, because I personally would have just modified the operating system, just the e-build, and just put it inside and build my own kind of image for that. But then I divert from the original Flatcar distribution more and more over time. And actually, I don't want to do that. So I really want to somehow bring that back into Flatcar, but I really don't know what's the best way to do it. So what's most aligned with your kinds of goals. And if you have kind of a deal like a SysEx, I'm happy to work on that.
Awesome. All right, let's do you have a GitHub handle?
One more thing, I realized why I didn't add the firmware update daemon at the time. It's written in Python, but yeah, maybe we could pair that with the Python sysex or something.
True, yeah.
I'm not sure, because I think it's mostly written in C. At least from a quick look on the Wikipedia page, is written in C, and also on the GitHub, it's mainly C. I'm not sure if you can compile kind of a static binary, and then, I mean, I can try it. I mean, if that's the idea, I can try to compile it as a static binary, put it into a sysx, and see if that works for me. So, I mean, and then we can share that via sysx bakery.
Yeah, I don't know why I said it was written in Python. This is something I commented on in January. Maybe I got it wrong.
Awesome. This is why we have this. Like, this is why we talk. This is great. And yeah, actually, so I was thinking about a system-dependent sysx, basically a sysx that we produce when we release new versions, and that's updated in lockstep with the operating system. But I mean, if there's a way to statically compile firmware update D without any drawbacks, then yeah, that's definitely a thing for the bakery. We do have one service or the other in the bakery already that does that. That actually statically compiles things often in an Alpine container, which is crazy, but it works. And Alpine's awesome anyways. So that would be probably the place to look at. Let me see if I recall correctly. Do you folks remember which one did the cross compilation, the compilation stuff? Tailscale, maybe?
No, I remember we have one in Pierre, but
No. It was merged. It was merged. Like I'm pretty sure it was merged. Because I ported it to the like the new way this all works now. It wasn't Tailscale. Because it came with an additional helper file. Keep alive D. It was Keep alive D. That's the one. Okay, because it comes with a build file. So if you check out create, create basically just starts an Alpine container, and from there runs build, and then copies back the binary, the one binary build. And then this build script basically does the heavy lifting and the building, which I personally think is pretty awesome. I like it. So yeah, if you need inspiration, the Keep Alive D sysx does something like that.
Okay, I will look into it.
What's your GitHub handle? I wanna ping you on the comments in the agenda for today.
Mailand, so my surname and the first letter of my first name. No, it's MM, so it's with
oh, right.
And then Mailand, like the Italian city.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that should be the right one.
Okay, awesome. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Seems like the Gen 2 implementation requires the Python.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's where I got that from. And
yeah, definitely took a look on the e-build, and that's why. So in this case, we can use an approach like Azure does, because Azure bundles the OM Python, right?
We already have a Python sysx actually, so we have all the options.
Yeah, I don't know why Gen 2 pulls in Python, because it looks like it's a very small part of it from the repo on GitHub, but I'd have to look a bit closer.
In any case, that's a great call out. Thanks for bringing this up. All right. Anything else you folks want to discuss? Nothing. All right. So you're gonna skip the release planning this time, because we just did a release, and that was the pseudo fix and it ships a number of minor patches as well. So that's basically our July release. Came a little early. Next one will be in August. If you have any items for that release to bring up or to bring in, the dev sync will be the right place to bring those up. And the dev sync will be on the on the 23rd of July. And this is basically where we do task planning and roadmap review and all of these items. And yeah, so if you have anything that you want to have and discuss for the release in August, that's the place to go. Of course, you can give comments and remarks asynchronously via filing a ticket or via just chatting us up in metrics. Cool. So this concludes our meeting for today. Before I shut down, you folks want to share anything else? Are we good?
I just have one quick question. Do we keep the office hours of August? Because I remember 2 or 3 years ago we skipped because most of the team was away. Do we plan to keep it this year?
So I'm probably around for the office hours, but definitely not for the dev sync. I'm like 50-50 right now. I'm on the edge. I know that Cyan will be around at least for the office hours as well. So
okay, so we'll see in due time. But yeah, let's keep it for now.
Yeah, that's what I think. Cool, good point. All right, Fox. Then thanks for attending. See you on Metrics, and please join the DevSync. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.